Alright, this is the NFL in all its splendor. 8 divisions, 32 teams. I'm going to give it to you real quick. Check this out. NFC East, Skins, Boys, Giants, and Philly. Sleep on this division? Huh, that's silly. Next up, it's the NFC South. Panthers, Birds, Bucks, and Saints. Point them out. Overlook the NFC North? Nice try. Lions, Packs, Vikes, and Bears? Oh my. Check out the NFC West with the Cards, Hawks, Rams, and 49ers. This division is full of defensive grinders. The AFC East, Pats, fans, Jets, and Bills. No D, but guess what? Oh, kills. In the AFC West, it's the Broncos, Raiders, Bolts, and Chiefs. About time somebody stepped up in that division. Good grief. AFC North, Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, and Browns. This division plays some of the best ball in town. In the AFC South, Texans, Titans, Colts, and Jags. Everybody in this division shares the riches and the rags. What 12 teams will find themselves in the playoffs with safe landings? This show helps you figure that out. Division standings. As we jump ship and jump conferences, now we find ourselves in the AFC conference. And we start in the AFC East with the New England Patriots. And this is the best team in this division. It usually is year in and year out. Every now and again, you'll get a team that jumps up and tries to battle with these New England Patriots. You'll find every now and again a Jets team might win the division or the Dolphins might win the division. But for the most part, this is the team that reigns supreme over this division. These New England Patriots, year in, year out, they get it done. And you want to know the best way and the most efficient way to win your division if you're a good team? Follow the template of the New England Patriots. They're 4-0 in their division. You want to win your division? Win games within the division. The most easiest, simple, and efficient way to win your division. Win games, win them in the division when they matter the most. The Patriots are 8-3 in this division. And really, I project the Patriots as the AFC East champions right now. This division is over. It was over probably 2 weeks ago. At one point, if you can believe it, everyone in this division was tied at 3-3. Everyone had a legitimate shot to win this division, and the Patriots just ran away with this division. I just told you everyone was 3-3. They've won 5 straight, have the Patriots. They have not looked back. And no one else in this division has been able to keep pace with this Patriots team. They're going to win this division. It's theirs. Now, if you're the Patriots, you turn your focus, after you basically winning this division, you turn your focus to trying to get a first-round bye. You turn your focus to trying to get home field throughout. You're not going to probably get that because the Houston Texans have been playing such good football, but you don't know if the Texans will falter. They have a lot of injuries out in Houston at the linebacker position. You don't know what could happen. They could drop their next 3 out of 4 and set up a scenario where if you win your last game and they lose their last game, you get home field advantage. So if you're the Patriots, you just need to win football games. You can't worry about what anyone else is doing. Continue to win games and see if you can land yourself home field throughout. You're going to get a first-round bye if you continue to play football, because I just can't see the Ravens continuing to win games the way they're playing. So even though the Ravens have a better mark than the Patriots right now, if the Patriots just win football games, win 12 games, I can't see the Baltimore Ravens winning 12 or 13 games. And the Ravens already have 9 wins. That lets you know how I feel about this Ravens team's schedule coming down the stretch. I think it's tough. I think the Ravens will lose some games. And if the Patriots just keep winning, they'll find themselves in the driver's seat for that other first-round bye. You look at this Patriots team, their record overall, they're 8-3. As I stated already, 4-0 in the division. They have 5 games remaining. At Miami, home for Houston, home for San Francisco, at Jacksonville, at Miami. And this is the toughest stretch of their schedule because, honestly, this New England Patriots team had a very soft schedule this year. Of all the good teams in the National Football League, they probably have played the softest schedule. And it's not their fault. It's just the division that they had to play. Their division isn't very good. Then you look at the fact that they got to play the AFC South this year. And then you also throw into the mix that they got to play the NFC West. And there you have it. Even though the San Francisco 49ers are good, the Seahawks are a tough team. The Patriots did lose to the Seahawks. You still got to remember, you get Arizona, you get the Rams, you look at the AFC South, you get Jacksonville, you get Tennessee. They roughhoused the Indianapolis Colts, and so the major teams in those divisions will be a tough challenge for this New England Patriots team, but all the rest of the teams in those divisions are relatively soft for this New England Patriots team, and those are wins and layups for the Patriots, and that's what they've gotten fat off this season, is playing bad teams and beating them up, and that's what you do. They're averaging 37 points a game, and the reason they're doing that this year is because they've been playing a lot of bad defenses and lighting up the scoreboard against them, forcing turnovers, scoring points. That's what Patriots have done. That's what good teams do when you play a bad team, and that's what they've done all season long. So they have their 5 games remaining, 2 on the road, 3 at home. It looks like a very good scenario for the Patriots. It's going to be a good test for them. Playing at home against San Francisco, playing at home against Houston. Those are key matchups for them. These are going to be a great barometer as to where the Patriots are in the NFL landscape. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare in those matchups. You look at the second place team in this division, it's the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins have had a very tumultuous season, to say the least. Because you've had players benched, you've had stretches where you're winning, you have stretches where you're losing, stretches where you're not turning the football over, stretches where you can't stop turning the football over. This Dolphins team, if they could just be consistent at something, maybe this team would be over 500 right now. Maybe this team would be threatening to make the postseason. I don't think the Dolphins have a realistic shot at making the postseason. I'll talk briefly about them because of their 5-6 mark. This AFC playoff picture is wide open. All you have to do is have a pulse and you have a chance in the AFC. And the Dolphins have a very faint one, but they have a pulse. You can feel it. It's there. And so I'll talk about the Dolphins briefly. They had a loss on Thursday Night Football 2 Thursdays ago that was tough to take. They beat the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football, and they're at 6-5 right now. I tell you what, this Dolphins team would be scary. But they went on the road and they lost. They had opportunities to beat teams. They had Tennessee at home. They allowed Tennessee to not only come in and beat them, but stomp a mud hole in them at home. Good teams don't lose at home the way they did to Tennessee, which the Tennessee Titans are not a good football team. You can't lose games like that at home and expect to go to the dance. And so I don't see this Dolphins team as being a playoff participant, but they have these Patriots twice. They have some say-so left in this division, and so we'll see what they're able to do moving forward. They have 5 games, as everyone does, remaining on the season. 3 of those games are at home, 2 on the road. They have New England at home this week coming up. They go to San Francisco, tough matchup. They come back home for Jacksonville and Buffalo in consecutive weeks. Finish up on the road at New England. So it's going to be a very interesting stretch for them because there's some games mixed in there that they should be able to win. But I don't trust the Miami Dolphins with this young quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, and this young coach in Joe Philbin to just win games that they should win. I thought that game against Tennessee at home was a game they should win. They lost. I thought this game this past weekend against Seattle was a game they should lose. They won. So you just don't know what you're getting from the Miami Dolphins on a week-in, week-out basis. So, again, another team to keep an eye on and see what they're doing because they're not out of this thing yet. Again, they have a faint pulse. It's still going. They still have a shot. Although it's a long one, they still have a shot. They just have to win football games. Everyone else in this division is dead in the water. The Jets had opportunities, ample opportunities, to make a run in the AFC. They weren't going to win this division, but they had every opportunity afforded to them to just make a run, win a couple of games, and they would have been right in the thick of things in the AFC. Instead, they continue to stumble over their own feet. They're not a good football team. They're not a well-coached team. They're not a very good, disciplined team as well. They're not good in many areas, and they're just a very bad football team that just doesn't get it this season. So I think changes will be made in the offseason, but they're at 4-7. So are the Buffalo Bills in this division. Neither of them will make the postseason. And so as we continue our march through the division standings and through these divisions one by one, we find ourselves in the AFC West up next. And this is probably the worst division in all of football. How many times do we find ourselves saying that over the years? The worst division in all of football is the AFC West. The only thing that they have going for them now is they actually have a front-runner team that is actually good in this division. In past seasons, everyone in the division was bad. 8-8 was good enough to win you the division. That's not the case anymore. They actually have a good team that holds this division up. There's someone to carry the AFC West flag. And so the Denver Broncos are that team. With Peyton Manning at the helm, they're a relevant team. And not just a good team, they actually are one of the better teams in the AFC, have a legitimate shot at hoisting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. And so the Denver Broncos, they've won this division. I project the Denver Broncos as the AFC West champions. Right now, you can go ahead and hang that banner up in the rafters. This team is going to win this division. They just need one more win, and they're done. This division is a mess, other than the Denver Broncos, who have this thing wrapped up already with an 8-3 mark. They're 4-0 in the division. And just like I said about the New England Patriots, you want the easiest and most efficient way to win your division? Win games within your division. Clean it up. And that's what the Broncos have done. It's not hard to do it, however, when you're talking about a division with a 4-7 San Diego Chargers team, a 3-8 Oakland Raiders team, and a 1-10 Kansas City Chiefs team. Not hard to clean up when the rest of the teams in your division are sorry. And so the Denver Broncos have done what they are supposed to do, which is beat up on bad teams in their division and try to win other games outside of the division. And so they're 8-3. They're 4-0 in the division. Their 5 remaining games have 3 at home, 2 on the road. Tampa Bay at home this week, coming up in Week 13. Then they go on the road for 2 straight at Oakland, at Baltimore, come back home and finish up the season at home for the next 2 games, Cleveland and Kansas City respectively. Those should be 2 wins. This Denver Broncos team could easily get to 11 wins if they take care of business. I can see them getting to 11, possibly 12. I don't know if 12 is a realistic number for them, but I definitely see them winning 11 games if they just play Denver Broncos football. They should be able to beat a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team at home. That's a dangerous squad, but they should be able to take care of them at home. They should be able to beat Cleveland at home. They should be able to beat Kansas City at home. This is a team that should be able to get to 11 wins. And I don't know. If they just win games, we don't know how the rest of the AFC is going to shape up. But 11 wins might be enough to get you home field advantage for at least 2 playoff games. It may be enough to get you a first-round bye as well. You have to stay tuned because you don't know what the Baltimore Ravens are going to do. They could falter down the stretch. Again, I don't like how their schedule is set up. I think the Ravens could falter down the stretch. And not to the point where they fall off the face of the AFC landscape. I'm just saying they won't win 11, 12, 13 games. Maybe they win 10. Maybe they go 10-6. Maybe they go 11-5. I mean, they already have 9 wins, so it's going to be tough for them to not win 11 games. I mean, you're talking about winning 2 out of your final 5. I think the Ravens can handle that. They're a team that might be able to win 12 or 13 games, but we'll get to the Ravens in a little bit when we get to that division. The Broncos have an opportunity in front of them. If they just continue to win games, win 12, win 13 games, win 11 games, maybe they can get a first-round bye. If not, they'll definitely host a playoff game or 2. And so this is a scary Denver Broncos team, and they have this division wrapped up. Now they just need to focus in on winning games and trying to get as high a playoff seed as they can in the AFC. Everyone else in this division is dead. They're done. They're not good teams. San Diego was supposed to be a team that challenged in this division. They're 4-7. They can't get out of their own way. There's going to be a lot of changes in San Diego. I think North Turner is going to finally get fired at the end of the season. I think A.J. Smith probably be on the way out as well as the GM of the Chargers. I think they're going to be wholesale changes up and down that roster. It's going to look like a different team next year in San Diego. The Chiefs were a huge disappointment. They're at the bottom of this division at 1-10. Romeo Crennel hopefully can survive this season. I seriously doubt that he will be able to, but I think he just needs a quarterback. He doesn't have the right man under center right now. It's hard to win in this league when you don't have a quarterback. And the Raiders are in a transitional period. New coach, new GM, new ball game, no Al Davis. So they're going through a transitional phase right now where they're trying to get a lot of that dead weight that was around from the Al Davis administration and try to get young, hungry players in there to fit the scheme that their new head coach wants to employ. They're trying to get guys in there who are younger, who are more athletic, who can get it done, who are better football players in terms of IQ and being able to get it done on the field. And so the Raiders have something going on right now. They're in a transitional phase, and so they're 3-8. They're not going anywhere. This is a bad division, and the Broncos are the only team that are going to make the playoffs from this division. So you go from the worst division in all of football to potentially the best division in all of football in the AFC North. And this division bolsters three teams that have a legitimate shot of making the postseason in the AFC. And so it's headlined by the Baltimore Ravens, however. This division will be won by the Baltimore Ravens, in my estimation. I can't make that projection quite yet. They have a big matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. If they're able to take care of business against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home, then they will win this division. I will be able to make a clear projection that the Ravens will win this division if they can take care of business at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that game right now is standing in the way of the Ravens being the AFC North champions and being declared that right now. So they can take care of business on Sunday. You will have your AFC North division champs in the Baltimore Ravens. But like I have said over the last two divisions, this being the third in a row where the division leader has a 4-0 mark in the division. The easiest and most efficient way to win your division and reign supreme over your division is to win games in your division. It's tough to handle family business. The best teams usually handle their family business the right way by winning. And so the Baltimore Ravens are no different in that regard. They're 9-2 on the season, but more impressively, 4-0 in their division. And so they're getting it done when it matters the most inside the division, and that's why they are the leaders in the clubhouse in the AFC North division. Their last 5 games look like this. Home for Pittsburgh. That's a big one. We've already talked about it. On the road at Washington. Back home for Denver. Back home for the Giants. Finish up on the road at Cincinnati. So that's a tough stretch of games. You're potentially playing 5 teams with winning records on the season when you take on them down the stretch. And so this Ravens team has a tough go of it down the stretch. But if any team can handle those kind of opponents, it's the Baltimore Ravens, who right now are one of the better teams in the AFC. And they have a couple of carrots dangling in front of them. They have a couple of goals right there, right in front of their face, that if they start playing good football down the stretch, they could achieve them with no problem. Right now, the Ravens are going to make the playoffs. They're going to be one of the 6 participants from the AFC in the postseason. But they want to have home field advantage throughout. They want to have a first-round bye. These things are right there in front of them. Now, the first-round bye is a very good possibility to occur if they take care of business. The Denver Broncos have a little bit to say about that. They're right behind them by only a game, so they can't let off the gas. They have to continue to play good football through the Baltimore Ravens if they want a first-round bye. But that first-round bye is not the only prize that's right there in front of them. They can also still get their hands on home field throughout the AFC playoffs if they can play good football down the stretch and have the Houston Texans lose some football games. Now remember, keep in mind, the Texans destroyed the Ravens earlier in the season, so the Ravens would have to finish better than the Texans. They can't finish tied with the same mark. They would have to finish with a better record than the Texans because the Texans hold the tiebreaker over the Ravens. So the Ravens have to play good football and have some help with the Texans losing for them to get that done. But it doesn't matter. Take care of your own business and let the chips fall where they may, and you might find yourself with not only a first-round bye, but also home field advantage throughout. The Ravens have a legitimate shot at getting both of those things done if they take care of business down the stretch. You look at the second-place team in this division, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are 6-5 on the season, 1-2 in the division, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, you have to win in your division if you want to go to the dance. You can't get it done in your division. You don't need to go anywhere. This Pittsburgh Steelers team has been struggling with these injuries. What a difference 3 weeks make. They were one of the best teams in the AFC just 3 weeks ago. Ben Roethlisberger goes down against the Chiefs, and all of a sudden, the fortunes of their season have changed dramatically. All of a sudden, they can't win on the road against the Cleveland Browns. They're struggling. They lost 2 weeks ago to the Baltimore Ravens at home, and they need to get healthy down the stretch if they want any opportunity to make the postseason. Ben Roethlisberger needs to come back. Antonio Brown needs to come back. Troy Polamalu needs to come back. If they want to have an opportunity to make the postseason and make a run, if they get there, they need to have guys come back and be healthy. Now, looking at their final 5 games, at Baltimore, home for San Diego, at Dallas, home for Cincinnati and Cleveland to wrap up the season. So they have 3 home games, 2 on the road. If they can find a way to get healthy and turn this thing around, even if they lose to Baltimore on Sunday and go to 6-6, if they get Ben Roethlisberger back, get Antonio Brown back, get Troy Polamalu back, get their swagger back, because I think right now they're lacking in confidence. They don't think that they can just beat teams up the way the Steelers of the past used to do. They right now are lacking in confidence, and they need Ben Roethlisberger to instill that swagger back into this ball club. They get healthy and make a run down the stretch, they probably can still make the postseason, even with a loss on Sunday to the Ravens, if that were to occur. But this is going to be an intriguing stretch for the Pittsburgh Steelers because we don't know what Steelers team is going to show up. We don't know who's going to be able to suit up for them, who's not. And so this is a team definitely worth keeping an eye on because we're used to the Steelers making the postseason. But if they don't get their act together, they won't make it this season. Looking at the third-place team in this division, it's the Cincinnati Bengals. They also are 6-5 on the season. Only reason they're not in second place in the division right now is because they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier at home in the season. And so the Steelers own the head-to-head matchup right now with the Cincinnati Bengals. They do have one more matchup with the Steelers. They have a chance to right that wrong from earlier in the season. We'll see what they do later on when they take on those Steelers. But right now they're 1-3 in the division, and I have a problem with that. As I said with the Steelers, if you can't win in your division, then you don't need to go anywhere. They have 2 remaining games in the division, both against the top teams in this division in the Steelers and the Ravens. They're going to have to find a way to win one of those games because they squandered an opportunity to beat the Browns earlier in the season. And a team like the Bengals, who always struggles with the Steelers and the Ravens, you have to beat the Browns twice. That's not an option to lose to the Browns. They've already lost to the Browns this season. So now they have to go recoup one of those victories by beating either the Steelers or the Ravens. They can't beat the Steelers or the Ravens in one of those matchups to finish up the season. I don't think they're going to be able to make it to the postseason. Their final 5 games looks like this. At San Diego, home for Dallas, at Philadelphia, at Pittsburgh, home for the season finale against the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to have to find a way to win 3 out of their last 5 if they want a legitimate shot at making the postseason. Their next 3 opponents have a chance to be under 500. If Dallas doesn't get it done against Philadelphia on Sunday, they will be under 500 as well when they play the Cincinnati Bengals. This Bengals team needs to win their next 2 out of 3, if not all 3 of those games, to make sure that even if they can't beat the Steelers and the Ravens, they'll still be at a 9-win clip and have a shot in the AFC to make the postseason. It's going to be a very, very fun watch for this division because all 3 of these teams have a realistic shot at making the postseason, but I only think 2 will ultimately make it. If they take care of business, all 3 of these teams, they could end up all in the postseason because the Indianapolis Colts are a shaky team, rookie quarterback, young coaching staff. They could falter down the stretch. You have to take care of business. Can't worry about what anyone else is doing. If they take care of business, they could find themselves, all of these teams, all three of them, in the postseason when it's all said and done. Looking at the last place team in this division, it's the Cleveland Browns. They're 3-8 on the season. They're not going anywhere this year. Have a young nucleus, have a young quarterback, young team, young coaching staff. They can build something moving forward, but this year they won't be participating in the postseason at all. So last but not least, we find ourselves in the AFC South division. Now this division is a surprise division, and not because of what the Texans are doing. Everyone knew that the Texans were going to be a good team coming into this season. And maybe not to the extent that they are right now, but everyone knew the Texans could be a really good team this season. Probably more so because the Indianapolis Colts have a legitimate shot to make the postseason from this division. And really, when this season started, if there was going to be another team in this division that made a run, it was going to be the Tennessee Titans. No one thought that the Colts would be ready in Andrew Luck's inaugural campaign as a quarterback in the NFL to come in and make the postseason. No one thought they would be ready and poised to make a run at the postseason in his first season. With their head coach being diagnosed with leukemia, having a young coaching staff to begin with Chuck Pagano being a first-year head coach, him being diagnosed with leukemia, you thought that might be the straw that broke the camel's back, but no, they used that as a rallying cry, and they've been playing really good football, really playing off of that Chuck Strong motto and really playing for Chuck Pagano and trying to win games and rallying around that whole team chemistry kind of feel. The Colts have really been a feel-good story this year, but let's not overlook the Houston Texans. They're 10-1. They're the best team in the AFC record-wise right now. And so they've done what the last three division leaders in the AFC have done, which is take care of business within your division. They're 3-0 in their division right now. They're playing really good football. They're a dangerous team. Looking at their final 5 games, they have 3 on the road, 2 at home, at Tennessee, at New England, home for Indianapolis, home for Minnesota, back on the road at Indy to finish up their season. That's going to be an interesting stretch because they have 3 games in the division remaining, 2 against the second place team. So they really have a chance to do some serious damage to the Indianapolis Colts playoff hopes down the stretch. If they are playing for home field advantage come that final game of the season, the Colts could be looking at a possibility of not making the postseason because this Houston Texans team would need that game to clinch home field advantage. Depending on what the Ravens are doing, depending on what the Denver Broncos are doing, if they have that already wrapped up due to the Texans, then maybe they don't need to play all of their players in that final game. Maybe the Indianapolis Colts will get a break on that final week of the season. We don't know. It's tough to say right now, 5 weeks out, but that's going to be an interesting dynamic at the end of the season. What the Texans need to have happen. Do they need to play all of their players? Will they be resting guys? Will the Colts need that game to get into the postseason? You look at the Indianapolis Colts, who are in second place right now in this division with a 7-4 mark. And they're one of the surprise teams in this division. They're one of the surprise teams in the league, for that matter. And they need everything to go their way down the stretch to get to the postseason. Right now, they're sitting pretty in the AFC race for one of those wild card spots. This division is going to be won by the Houston Texans. There's no doubt about it. I'm projecting the Houston Texans as this division winner. There's no doubt about it. The Texans will win this division. It's a foregone conclusion. The Colts can make the postseason, should make the postseason, but I tell you what, they have a young team, have a young coach. I don't know if they will be able to continue to play good enough football to make it to the postseason. My thing for the Indianapolis Colts all season long was just get to 9 wins. You get to 9 wins, you probably will make it to the postseason, but I'm not so sure if that'll hold up or not in the AFC. It looks like 9 wins is good enough to get you in the playoffs in the AFC, but I just don't know with the Cincinnati Bengals surging all of a sudden. 3 weeks ago, it looked like 9 would be an easy target number for you to get in the postseason. All of a sudden now with the Cincinnati Bengals playing good football of late, I don't know if winning 9 games will be good enough to get you in the postseason. Let's look at their schedule moving forward. They're 2-1 in their division, which means they have 3 games remaining left in that division, and 2 of them are against the division-leading Houston Texans. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the Texans play it finishing up this season. Will they need these games? Will they have to play all of their players? Because if that final game of the season means nothing for the Texans, the Colts may be the beneficiary of the Texans not needing that game. Very fascinating dynamic there as you look at the Colts' remaining schedule. They're at Detroit, home for Tennessee, at Houston, at Kansas City, finish up at home against Houston. So if they can find a way to take care of family business, beat the Titans. They have Houston twice. That first game against Houston, you're probably going to get the best that the Texans have to offer. So that could be a loss. But you have Kansas City, you have Detroit, you have Tennessee. None of these teams have winning records. You need to clean those teams up. You win those 3 games and you lose to Houston twice, you'll be fine. Because if you win the games you're supposed to win against bad football teams, you'll win 10 games. If you go to Detroit, which you haven't been a very good road team, you lay an egg, you come back home, and you lose to Tennessee. All of a sudden now you go from in the driver's seat to struggling to cling to a playoff spot. So it's important and it's imperative that you go and win games against bad football teams, whether it's on the road or at home. You take care of your business, then you won't have to beat the Houston Texans to make it to the postseason. You'll be fine just beating up on the Chiefs, Titans, and Lions if you can just take care of business against teams under 500. So that's where the Colts stand right now. They win games down the stretch, beat the teams that they're supposed to, which is what they've done all season to get that 7-4 mark. They'll make it to the postseason. If they start deciding to lose to teams that they've been beating all season long, then they won't make it to the postseason. As simple as that. The other 2 teams in this division, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans, aren't going anywhere. Both of their fates have been sealed. They're not going to the postseason this year. Neither one of these teams are any good. Both of these teams have young quarterbacks looking to, better themselves and looking to prepare for next season. And so they're just trying to win games and build confidence for the future and what's to come for these franchises moving forward. So that's going to do it for the first episode of the Division Standings segment. There are a lot of very, very dynamic storylines going down the stretch of these final 5 games in the National Football League. You have a lot of things going on in the AFC conference. It's a wide open conference where 9 wins, maybe even 8 might get you into the tournament. Meanwhile, you look at the NFC, you have to come with 9 wins just to even be in the discussion. And 10 wins is probably going to be the benchmark for getting in the postseason. And so it's 2 different conferences, 2 different storylines. But looking at each division, every team in these divisions that are making a playoff push have something going in their favor, but they have to take care of business. And so it's going to be fun to watch how this thing unfolds down the stretch. Every team needs to play good football, and a lot of these teams are battling against each other. And so you have to win games against the teams that are going against you trying to get into the postseason. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to chronicle every single game, every single division, every team that's looking to get into the postseason. We will talk about it on this program in the Division Standings segment. I thank you for joining me. It's been a long time coming. We finally did it. And now this segment will come to you every single week as we start to break down these records, these games, these divisions, and find out who will be in the postseason as one of the 12 participants that make it to the postseason in the National Football League for the 2012 season. And remember, you can't win if you don't get in. And we're talking about the postseason tournament. You don't get a ticket to the dance, you don't stand a chance. So as always, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back here next week to chronicle what took place in Week 13 of the NFL season and talk to you and bring you the division standings of the National Football League. Have a good one.